News at sunrise. Time for Newsmakers. Bakersfield Police Chief Greg Terry joins us now in studio. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, since we last spoke, you announced your retirement from Bakersfield Police Department. Tell me, how'd you come to this decision?
It was a tough decision. It marks almost 6 years as police chief. I've been with the Bakersfield Police Department a long time, almost 29 years now, and so it was a journey to the decision, but I felt like it was the right time.
And after 5 years as chief, almost 6, and almost 29 years in the department, what advice do you have for your successor?
Well, somebody asked me the question the other day, and it kind of rhymes with this season, but one of the two things that came to my mind was, one, to stay curious. Always have an open mind and willing to learn and open to new ideas and that sort of thing. And then the second thing is always find some reason to be grateful or express gratitude every single day. And you'll recognize that it becomes a habit, but also it will help inoculate you to a lot of the stresses that you have when you really be intentional about trying to find the things to be thankful for every single day.
Especially in a job like chief, you really have to focus on the good things.
Yeah, you really do.
Well, let's turn now to a report by the Bakersfield monitoring team.
Mm-hmm.
It found 18 officers made up about 26.1% of all officer complaints. Why are such a small number of officers making up such a big number of complaints?
Yeah, we're going through that report right now. As you might know, it's 50, 60 pages long. It's quite technical in nature.
Yes, sir.
So our staff are evaluating, really trying to validate and replicate the data. So I don't have a lot of answers exactly this morning, but we'll have some answers soon about our evaluation of the full report.
And what kind of steps go into evaluating that report?
Really, like I said, it's a very technical report. So when you look at all of the data, when you're talking about statistics, and when they replicate and do studies and discuss studies to find clustering or overrepresentation and those kinds of things, it's very important that we get accurate information to our community. So we're going through that report now, and we'll have some information for the community soon on our perspective of the report.
But that report says BPD presented a draft policy for personnel complaints to the Chiefs Advisory Panel on August 12th, and you were supposed to hear back by December 9th, which was yesterday. Have y'all heard back from that panel?
Yeah, so the process for the policies that go through the Community Advisory Panel is we give them information, then there's a scheduled time to get feedback from them, and then we give them feedback on their feedback on what policy changes or what recommendations we were able to accept. That did take place last night on our complaint policy. And so the next step will be finalizing those policies and getting it to the monitor for submission to the Department of Justice.
Let's turn now to the suspected domestic abuse murder case that happened on the night before Thanksgiving on Tallulah Falls Court involving Manuel Robles. What kind of services does BPD prioritize for kids like the 15-year-old who was suspected as a witness in this case?
Yeah, we really provide access to services through our partners, community partners, Open Door Network, the victim witness services available through the district attorney's office. It's such a tragic event that you never recover from. So services are going to be needed for the rest of these involved individuals' lives. But our message also is that there is help. Don't let it escalate to these kinds of things. We're really looking for ways to intervene and prevent any kind of domestic violence tragedy that would lead to something like this. And so my message to the community is, if you know of somebody that's going through domestic violence, or you're in the home and there's domestic violence, reach out to the Open Door Network, reach out to the police department. There are a lot of services available, and we need to take advantage of those opportunities to intervene and prevent things from escalating like they did there.
Your department said you've had multiple calls from that house in the past about domestic violence. Why has nothing been done sooner?
It's not uncommon, unfortunately, for domestic violence type incidents or that are occurring within a family dynamic for us to get lots of calls there. And so I don't know the specifics of this case in particular, but it is not uncommon for us to repeatedly go to these homes. But it requires people being willing to take advantage of resources. It requires them being willing to acknowledge what is going on and report things to us. And those are difficult things for victims, and those are difficult things for family members at times. And so we may go to a house repeatedly for a variety of things, but if people don't tell us what's going on, there's no way for us to know. And so that's why my message is, when these kinds of things are going on, you don't have to call the police. We encourage you to, but there are also a lot of resources that are available to prevent domestic violence from escalating to something like we saw there.
Bakersfield Police Chief Greg Terry, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
You bet.
All right, we'll have more news coming up after the break. Stick with us.